Hi, and welcome to VIBEZ Daily. This is a daily devotional curated by VIBEZ Church to help you practice the way of Jesus and be all that God has called you to be. You have joined us for our year-long series titled Devoted. Acts 2:42 tells us that the followers of Jesus were devoted to the apostles' teaching, to fellowship, to breaking of bread, and to prayer. This podcast was created to provide context and commentary for what you read each day. Just before our friends begin discussing today's reading, we want to invite you not only for fellowship, but for prayer as well. We have created the VIBE Daily Chat Group to offer you fellowship and a community where you can state your observations, ask questions about the reading or the podcast. You can join us by downloading the VIBEZ Church app in your favorite app store. Click Join the Conversation and join us today. And finally, we hope that you can join us for prayer. Prayer happens Monday through Friday, and more information on that can be found on the VIBEZ Church app under prayer. Now, let's begin our conversation on today's reading.
All right, welcome back to the VIBEZ Daily podcast and our year-long devoted series as we are walking through the entire Bible in a year. It is day 53 in this series, and so just continuing to push through in scripture. We started yesterday in the book of Deuteronomy, and so I'm excited to be back with my friends Shameeka and Nakia as we continue through Deuteronomy here, picking up at chapter 5 today. And so where we left off yesterday, again, we kind of set the tone that this is kind of some of like Moses' last words, essentially, that he's leaving for the people as they are anticipating and preparing to move into the promised land. Yeah. And so he's repeating a lot of things that we've kind of already heard. And so chapter 5 starts with another repeat here as the 10 commandments are kind of repeated to these people. So anything that just stuck out to you guys here in chapter 5 as Moses, one, tells the 10 commandments to them again, and then the people kind of respond. Anything that jumped out to you guys here?
Yeah, what stuck out to me was reading the commandments this time. I felt like I can attach stories and remember like when these different things were disobeyed, like what happened to that person as a result. And so for me, whereas the first time when we read it, it was more of this like kind of blueprint. I'm also seeing like, I remember when they did that, or I remember when that person misused the name of the Lord and was killed as a result. So I'm having these reminders of their history and just why it's so important. And even I feel like a few things was a little maybe expounded on. So for example, when it talked about like not making the images or anything, like God says, like it says in verse 9, I the Lord your God am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of the parents to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. Like that was an extra piece that now is in there because like we saw what happened. They built the golden calf. They had these other times where they were just wanting to serve another god, and as a result, like generations were punished. But I love again the ending of that where it says like you still get to see God's love. Like he's showing his love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. So I did see these commandments being expounded on and just seen in a different way.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I mean, I think in as much as there are some kind of expansions, there's also just some consistency, right? And the same commands as they had kind of in Exodus, right? And so, you know, just that God's laws have not changed despite the people changing, right? Or despite that disobedience that you brought up. Like God's like, this is still the standard though. Yeah. I know you guys have strayed, you know, built idols and you profaned my name, you did all these things along the way. My standard has not changed, like my expectations haven't changed for you, and I think that's a good reminder, because I think at least for me personally, I can tell you like I've had moments in my life where I've drifted kind of from the standard and maybe started living certain lifestyles or doing certain things that I knew were contrary kind of to what God expected. And like it's important to just remember that like God did not change through that, and like his expectation was still for me to get back in line, right? To ultimately what he expected of me. And it's not like, oh well, you're better than you used to be, so that's good enough now. It's like, no, actually my standard is still the standard.
That's good.
And that's not changing. So
Very
I do
good.
expect you to make your way back to what it is that I've asked of you.
Yeah, that's good. I also do love, sorry, you had something, Nakia.
Go ahead.
I was about to say, I also do love seeing like God's heart in verse 29, where it says, "Oh, that their hearts would be inclined to fear me and keep all my commands always, so that it might go well with them and their children forever."
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it kind of sounds like a little bit of a lament from the Lord. Like, man, like I just want these people to
course he
really
does.
fear me.
Yeah.
And to know that like what I am requiring of them is for their protection,
Yeah.
and that like all will be well for them and their children. Like
Yeah.
he cares about that. So I do love seeing this piece of God's heart in this scripture.
And I'm okay with seeing it, having to see it reiterated. I mean, because we still need that today.
Yes.
I need to hear the promises of God and His commands again, so that it sticks a little bit more this time. So I just love that Moses started chapter 5 the same way he started chapter 4. Listen,
Yeah.
okay, obey these commands.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
this is what I need you to do. And
Yes.
this is what's going to be the result if you do.
Yeah.
The benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, because I think what's to your guys' points, I think it is a reminder also that this is for our good.
Yeah.
And I think we can sometimes have the perspective that God is just this like strict dictator that just doesn't want us to do anything,
Yeah.
right?